Hi, we know that food plays a huge role in our overall health. And when we think about changing our food or food habit just to become healthy, or we are just trying to lose weight or something like that, we could have different goal. But here the problem is we just focus on this is healthy, that is not healthy. This is what I am supposed to eat because it is healthy. We are not supposed to eat the other thing. So we focus mostly on what we are going to eat or what we are not going to eat. But the thing is, in the process of just choosing healthy, it is very time consuming and it takes a lot of research. Sometimes we get bad information, no information. Sometimes we just don't have enough information, or the information we knew it was healthy before. So there's a lot of confusing things are there. But as I promise you, I'm going to make the video and I'm going to let you know what are the things we are talking about regarding the food. But one thing you need to remember, food is can be we can relate as a culture or we can relate food as our heritage, food is comfort. Yes, all those things are correct. But the main thing is not what we eat. There are three things are there if I break it down. Number one is the thing is that yes, what we eat is important, but that is not usually the priority. So before what we eat comes when we eat and how we eat. So I know it can be a little bit confusing, but I'm going to go one after another, which is going to be really helpful. So I know maybe you think, your broccoli is good or broccoli is bad, or you might think, well, green leaf vegetable is good and too much of sugar is bad. Yes, those things are important. But what I'm saying is that before that comes when we eat. So are we eat something healthy, like for example, salad 5 days a week? Is that is healthy? Or we can say, yes, I'm going to get up in the morning, eat a fruit, then I'm going to eat a salad, then I might want to eat something non-fat thing. So we feed all day long. Is that is healthy? So to just cut all the confusion, I'm going to tell you before comes what we eat when we eat. So that is the first thing I'm going to discuss, but because that is the number one priority if we really want to get healthy. What is the number one priority? Our answer is that when we eat, are we supposed to eat small meal all day long? Because that is a question I always get that we have a lot of patients here we treat and they went to a dietitian. They say, no, you need to eat healthy, small meal all day long. That is a notion, it was kind of old. It probably got created around 1970s, which is wrong. We know we have a lot of scientific data that, and also that is our ancient wisdom. Our body is not a feeding machine. We are not designed to eat all day long, all the time, every time. Think about our ancestors when they were hunter gatherers. Sometimes they will have feast and they will go many days without eating because they have no food. Even a few hundred years back, maybe 100 years back, they sometimes did not have time or they did not have money or they did not have the resources to eat all day long. But now we have food is plentiful and we have all this kind of wrong information. So in case of doubt, we need to fall back to the ancient wisdom. So our body is not a feeding machine. So we can, our body has limited energy. So the energy can be utilized either to digest food, because when you eat food, it will be digested, or the energy can be used to heal our body. So when we have symptoms, like for example, we have pain, we have kind of weakness, we have stiffness, we cannot get up and go to work, we have all kind of symptoms. So when the symptoms are happening, I said these are symptoms, then we worry too much. The symptoms are happening because our body not in a right place, and I probably have a lot more other videos you can watch. And why our not body in a right place? Because it is just enjoying, or it just pushing the limit of how it is going to digest the food, because we are feeding all the time. And it is just the biggest lie that we have to eat breakfast every single day, and that should be the biggest thing, or the biggest meal in the whole day. If you look at any little kid, even if when my kids were going to school, it was very, very hard to feed them breakfast. Usually kids are not hungry in the morning. And many of the parents, we think, oh, how the kid is going to survive all day long. He needs to eat breakfast or she needs to eat breakfast. But our body is not designed to eat so many times. And usually we don't get hungry until unless we develop a habit of eating breakfast. So eating breakfast, then we are going to have a snack, then we are going to have a lunch, then we are going to have a midday snack, then we'll have dinner. That too much thing is going on. And maybe in my subsequent video, I'm going to elaborate the scientific reason or the scientific basis of feeding all day long, how it affects us. But for the time being, the rule is that our body is not a feeding machine. It cannot eat all day long. So basically, before we think about this is healthy, not healthy, we have to regulate our feeding time. Yes, it is a feeding time, or you can call it as a feeding window. We are not designed, maybe somebody can get by eating 4 or 5 meals a day. Their body can handle that. But if we are already in a lot of problem, we have pain, we have heartburn, we have taking a lot of medication, this, that, our main job is to bring our body back to as normal as we can. So how we can bring our body to as normal as we can? The number one thing between everything else is taking care of the food. But we will get to the healthy part later. But for the time being, we will focus, because you cannot do too many things at one time. It's better to start this way so that it is going to get easier for us to handle and to manage. So we are going to stop our meal only to 2 meals a day. That is simple. So eat whatever you are eating. We'll change the food or the diet down the road. But for the time being, just eat 2 meals a day. And you probably have heard this. Probably you have heard this as intermittent fasting, this, that. I'm going to cover this down the road. But for the time being, if you are eating breakfast, we call is a breakfast. Okay, so we will stop thinking this way. Sometimes people eat breakfast at 6 o'clock. Sometimes they eat at 7 o'clock. So sometimes they eat at 10 a.m. and that's okay. So we will need to stop talking about breakfast, lunch, dinner. So for our conversation, we are just going to consider 2 meals. First meal and your last meal. That's it. Simple, right? Your first meal, you can call that breakfast. You can call that lunch. You can call that dinner, because I have many patients that work night shift. So what they are going to call. So for our understanding, we are going to quit saying breakfast, lunch, dinner. So basically what we are trying to do, we are going to break our whole food in a whole day, 24 hours, 2 meals a day. First meal and second meal. And the rule is keep minimum 16-hour gap between first meal and your last meal, or your last meal or your first meal. That's it. It is that simple. So you give 16-hour gap. If you can, give it 17-hour gap. If you can, give 18-hour gap. between two meals. And that's all you have to remember. Now you might say, well, I'm going to get hungry. Well, you'll be surprised. Hunger is a mind game. So if you never done this, and actually it is easier than what you think. Imagine you have dinner at 7 a.m. So your next meal is going to be 7 to 7, 12 hours, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 o'clock, you eat one meal and you eat your second meal at 7. It is simple. And from that, 7 o'clock, you eat the meal. 8 hours, you'll be sleeping. So you're not going to get that hungry. And there are more tricks are there, which I'm going to share with you in my next videos. And keep watching all these videos because these are very, very important. So just to recap what I said to being healthy, we are not going to focus too much right now what we should eat. We first have to control our feeding time. And the feeding time has to be only 2 meals a day. Whatever you want to eat during that time, first meal. And whatever you want to eat, you eat it that in the second time. That's it. Nothing in between. So when I say nothing in between, but you can some leeway. So what you can eat and drink in between. So you cannot eat anything, but you can drink. You can drink plain coffee. You can drink plain water. You can drink water with lemon juice. Or there are other things are there which you can drink. And why I'm saying there is a gap, all this thing, I'm going to cover in my subsequent videos. But for the time being, just remember this. We have to first control our feeding time. 2 meals a day, that's it. It might sound hard, but you'll be surprised how easy it is. Once upon a time, I used to eat pretty much like 4 meals a day. And then it took me a little bit time because I thought, I need to practice what I preach. So once I do that, by doing that, I actually lost a bunch of weight. Not only I lost weight, I became very, very healthy. So first job is to control the feeding time. And then subsequently, I'm going to talk more about in depth what is fasting, what happens, how it can really very helpful. It can cure many disease. All these things that I'm going to talk about this. And if you know me, I talk about all these things on fact, on scientific research. And actually many of these I'm going to talk about, people got Nobel Prize for it. So these are the facts I'm going to bring it to you. And thank you for watching. See you in my next video.